Hey, what's up guys? It's Ivan, and in this video I'm going to show you a complete A to Z Taboola Ads tutorial. Taboola is one of the best, if not the best, native ad platforms right now that allows you to reach hundreds of millions of users all over the world across thousands of premium high-quality websites. And Taboola is very strict with the types of websites they allow on their site. Now, what you'll see in this video is actually a part of my online marketing blueprint training course, which you can get free starter access to at ivanmana.com. And in this video, we're going to start by me going over what native ads are, what they look like, and more importantly, whether they're right for you. We're then going to get into conversion tracking with Taboola, super important because you cannot hit a target you can't see. So definitely you want to set that up. Then we're going to get into the campaign creation and setup. And lastly, I'm going to show you how to set up remarketing audiences so that you can retarget people who visited your site already. So with that said, let's get straight into it.
So now let's talk about native ads, which is another ad format we have available. When it comes to native ads, there isn't just one network you can go with. There are many like Taboola, Outbrain, MGID, Ref Content, so on and so forth. In this section, I'm going to be focusing on Taboola because it's the most popular, it's a market leader, it's well established. However, whatever I show you here, you can easily apply to any other network of your choice. So same as with the other sections, I'm going to first show you what native ads look like, what they are, how they're different from Google Display Ads, which are fairly similar. And then we're going to discuss and figure out if they're right for you. So let's get into it. So here, for example, we have MSN.com, which is a news website. So at the top here, you have a big ad. This is not a native ad. This is a Google Display ad. You have Google Display Ads over here too. See, it's flashy, it's big, it says ad. People know it's an ad, okay? Because over here, as people are reading, right, they see these things on the side and they say, okay, this is an ad. Now, compare that with native ads. Let's scroll down a little bit and let's see if we can find some native ads here to show you. Over here, it says ad. These are native ads. As you can see, they flow more seamlessly into the content. If people don't read the sponsored content and they don't see that it says that little ad over there, then this literally looks like it's part of the website. So as people scroll, they think, oh, catchy image, let me click on it. So they get intrigued first by the image, then the headline, and then they click on it. And this looks just the exact same. Observe this ad, right? This isn't an ad. It looks exactly the same, right? So it's easy to miss. That's why they're called native ads, because they seem native to the article. They seem like they're part of an article. So that's what that is. Here again, you have the display ads. You have display ads here, right? So it's quite obvious. But then over here, you have more ads. These are native ads right over here, all of them, right? And these are likely as well from Taboola. If you hover over some of them, sometimes it will say that, hey, it's coming from Taboola, which is the network that we're going to be working with. Let me see if any of them show here. Yeah, anyway, some of them would. So you would be able to create ads just like this. Here's another example, CBS. So Taboola is partnered with about 9,000 or so, they say, different websites, including some of these most popular news networks. So over here in this one, again, you see a big ad, right? Like it's clear, join the Masters of Change. It's clear that it's an ad. And then for this one, I believe we might have to scroll down to the bottom. Over here, for example, promoted links by Taboola. It says co-founder of Google Brain, Andrew, recommends this, blah, blah, blah. So this would normally be much higher up. It wouldn't be at the bottom, but it looks like it's part of that, right? Like, look, it looks exactly the same as this, minus the big headline as opposed to the small one, but the image size, everything, it natively fits into the rest of the content. Here's one more example, just to get the point across for you guys. Let's see if we can find some native ads. They all look a little bit different on all the sites, which is why I'm trying to show you all the differences. Like here, for example, over here, learn more. This is sponsored, right? And they look the same. Like they look like they are part of the content again. So sponsored. Notice all these images that are really unique, right? They're really engaging. They really try to get your attention. So all of these are ads. And then I'm trying to see if I can find one that was made on Taboola. Sometimes they can be made on Taboola, but the URL obviously won't show it because if people are taking people to their website. But sometimes it goes through Taboola. But anyway, that's what it is. So these are native ads. So the question is, are these for you? Can you do this? So first of all, if you don't have at least, I'd say $5,000 to invest in this, don't do it, okay? Native ads is not for beginners that is looking to start promoting their business. Absolutely it isn't. Native ads is if you have a big budget, if you have at least, I'd say $5,000 to invest in putting these ads out and testing and seeing who converts, then you can do it. So native ads is if you have $5,000 capital to invest in these ads, and if you are already scaling, if you're doing well with your product, because you don't want to spend $5,000 on an ad and then realize that your offer sucks, right? So one of the requirements I'd say for native ads is make sure that you know that your products are doing well on Google, on Facebook, on any other sources that we've been doing here. It says Taboola feed, by the way. So these are made by Taboola. And you want to promote products that you know are doing well. So I'd say the two requirements are A, you already have products that are doing well, and B, you have at least $5,000 to invest in this. And why I say that is because there's going to be a lot of junk sites, right? Like these are good, high quality sites, and all the sites are good, of course. The minimum requirement for Taboola is 500,000 or a million average monthly visits on a website before they get accepted into the Taboola program. But for your offer, some sites will just be useless. You know, people won't buy by going to every single site. It's just really a hit or miss with these native or display ads. So only do this if you're already scaling, if you know your products are doing well and you're looking for additional traffic sources, and if you have at least $5,000 to test, because potentially that money could go down the drain. Potentially it just won't work and you'll be left with nothing, okay? So I'd strongly recommend if you're starting out, go with Facebook, go with Google. There you can pay, $10, $15 a day and just see how things go and look at the results, analyze the results day by day. Here you really got to invest. So in terms of the actual stats, so according to Taboola's information, they have over 9,000 digital properties. They say the same thing. And on all these sites, they have over 600 million unique daily active users. So just for comparison, Facebook has about 2 billion unique daily active users. So this is much less than Facebook. You can't compare these guys. You can't compare any of the traffic sources that we've talked about in this module with Facebook or Google Ads. There's just no comparison right now. Yes, over here they say 9,000, right? So there's a lot of reach, perfect for scaling. And then if you're looking at what websites does Taboola work with, here are some examples. They do have an extensive list somewhere. I think here, maybe. This is where I found that extensive list where they just have a bunch of different websites you can look at. But over here, some of the most popular ones, some of the news networks. So people are going to be reading the news and then boom, they're going to come across your ad without even knowing that it's your ad, right? So you really got to make it engaging. Native ads are a slightly different beast than the other content we've worked with because you really have to try to hook them with, oh my God, this will shock you, like that type of headline, that type of image. And we'll get into that once we start creating the ad. But yeah, that's basically it. So hopefully this gives you a better understanding of what native ads are, how they compare to the display ads, and whether they're right for you. So in the next few lessons, we're going to be going over creating our account and then setting up tracking, setting up audiences, setting up the campaign. All right, so let's create our Taboola Ads account. This should be much faster and easier than most of the other networks we've worked with in the past. So if you guys head over to go.ivanmana.com/Taboola, this is my affiliate link. I am partnered with Taboola. And if you guys use my link, then you will get access to a special Taboola expert who can help you with the setup, with your advertising, and just managing your account overall. So I have been using Taboola for the past few years. I've created a few tutorial videos about them on YouTube as well that you can look at that go in depth as well into the Taboola setup, even though the videos that you will see in this section will be much more updated. So you can see some of their premium publisher sites that they're working with, some of the bigger ones. And then you can come in here, just enter your name, company, website, size, phone number. Like I said, I recommend you have at least $5,000 to spend. Native ads isn't a game. It's not funny, okay? It does take a lot of testing because there's just so much junk because the cost per click is going to be much lower, right? Because the quality of traffic in general is going to be lower. So you have to test for the placements and the sites that actually do convert because these are just going to be on news articles, right? You're not targeting people based on keywords. So you really can't as easily target those bottom and middle of the funnel keywords. You'll mostly be targeting the top of the funnel. So what I'm going to do is just come in here and just log into the account. Of course, I don't want to create another account here and speak to an expert when it's just a test. So I'm going to log in and I'm going to show you what that's going to look like on the inside. And welcome to your Taboola Ads account. Once you log in, you will see this interface. Get familiar with it. It follows the same suit as with all the other networks where you have the campaigns at the top, you have the tracking, the audiences, right? All these different tabs. And this is going to be our base and home for the next few lessons. So I actually ended up creating a brand new Taboola Ads account just so you could see everything exactly the way that I show you here. So the first thing we need to do is set up tracking. So we're going to click on tracking over here. So have your Google Tag Manager open, have your pages open. I have the sales funnel page here, the checkout page, purchase thank you page, the lead thank you page rather, all that. And we're going to be installing our pixels. So with Taboola, they do have the same integration where if you click here, click on Google Tag Manager, they're just going to connect to your Google Tag Manager and integrate everything for you. However, the process is so easy that it's faster for us to do it ourselves. So we're just going to go to Google Tag Manager, click on tags. We're going to click on new tag. Let's name this Taboola Ads base code. We're going to go to trigger. We're going to set all pages and we're going to look for Taboola. It is not here. So we're going to look for it in the template gallery. And we're going to look for Taboola and we're just going to simply enter our pixel number and that's it. Should be good to go. So let's come in here. Let's grab this account ID number. We're going to copy that. Come in here, paste it, make sure this is the base code, and that is all. That is all, okay? So way faster than waiting for them to integrate with Google Tag Manager and so on and so forth. It should be if we sort by type again. Taboola right here, Taboola base code. And if we preview now, this should fire on all the pages. And then we have to come in there and set up the events, of course. So let's grab our URL. Let's come in here, paste it here. And then we're also going to install the extension, same as with the other networks, to help us confirm and ensure that all of this is firing. So let's just come in here, make sure that Taboola base code fired. Perfect. Okay. So now what we can do is we can create the specific events, such as the purchase, the checkout, the lead submit, and the phone call, right? Those are the basic conversion events that we want to track for all of our networks. So same as with Google Ads, we have to do it over here. We have to click on create conversion and we have to do it inside of Google Tag Manager. So let's do it here inside of Google Tag Manager first, and then we're going to come back in and set it up in Taboola. But whichever way you want to do it is totally fine. And by the way, what we want to do is we want to save this ID so we don't have to copy it again. So we're just going to copy that. Let's click here. Let's click on add. And we're going to name this our Taboola Ads ID. We're going to name this a constant variable. And we're just going to plunk it in there. We no longer need to get the number. Let's delete that. There you go. And so now we're just going to create a few more events for everything else like we have here: checkout, purchase, lead submit. And same as with all these other options, we're going to come in there and create our events. So let's come in here. Let's click on new. Let's name this one the purchase one. So we're going to say Taboola Ads purchase. Let's set the trigger. Get the easy part out of the way first. Purchase. Let's now select our Taboola pixel. Let's enter our pixel ID. Taboola Ads ID, we're going to say event. This is going to be an event, right? This is going to be a purchase, make purchase, and we want to pass the revenue and the currency values. So we're going to select here for revenue. Revenue is going to be our e-commerce value, and for the currency is going to be e-commerce currency. And that's it. Easy as that. So now this should fire. Let's come in here. Let's create a few new ones. Let's say Taboola Ads. This is going to be initiate checkout. Let's trigger begin checkout. Tag configuration, Taboola pixel. Let's grab our ID. We don't have to do anything else other than change this to event here, and we'll say start checkout, and that's it. Okay, so just two more, the lead and the phone call. So let's say Taboola Ads. Let's say phone call. We're going to select our trigger. We're going to say phone call. If none of these make sense, I highly recommend you check out the tracking and analytics module. Select Taboola pixel, grab that ID, event. They might not have the call one, right, or contact, so we can say custom. We can just name it. We can say phone call, and we don't want to pass any other information. We'll click save. And then let's do one more. Let's do one more for the lead, right? So Taboola Ads, lead submit, people that filled in our form. So you can choose which form you want. The one I'm referring to is the thank you page, is our landing page form submit. Although we do have these other forms here, so you can choose what you want. We'll do that. Once again, Taboola, and we should be done here on this end. And then of course, after we finish everything, we're going to come in there and check and make sure that everything is working on the Taboola side as well. So here we have all our pixels. So let's just preview one of them. We're not going to check everything. Let's come in here and grab our page here. Let's paste that here, click on connect. And let's just go through this process here real quick. We have all that amount set. Let's place order. And we just want to come back to our Google Tag Manager and make sure that all the codes have fired. So initiate checkout, the base code, and now the purchase one should fire as well. Taboola Ads purchase, checkout, base code. Okay, so that's it. So we're good on the Google Tag Manager end. Now we have to come back in here and create all 4 of those in here as well. So let's click on new conversion here. Let's start off with the purchase. So we'll say purchase. Now with Taboola, we can't just enter the URL of our purchase page here because then the values won't be dynamically updated. And we do want the values to be dynamically updated, right? So we're going to select event for this one. And then we're going to leave this blank and we're going to use the dynamic values down below. But first we want to come in here. We want to select what we want. So that's make purchase. So the event name here is make purchase. So make sure that's the same inside of your Google Tag Manager. So over here, when we go to purchase, it should be the same here. Make purchase, okay? Click through conversion window, view through conversion window. You should know what all these mean already. Again, how much time after somebody clicks do you want that to be considered a conversion? How much time after somebody views and doesn't click do you want that sale to be considered a conversion? So over here, this is a main conversion, the purchase. So we want this to be counted as a total conversion. It's like the main conversion in Google Ads, for example. It's the same thing here. The total value, we want to include the total value as well. Audience property. So what will happen once we create this conversion is that Taboola will make an audience list out of this group of people that bought. So here it's giving us the option to exclude this group of people from all campaigns. So we're not going to check mark this on. Instead, when we do want to include a certain group, we will simply exclude it under the campaign creation process. So we're not going to do it here. And then over here, because it's a sale, we do want aggregated. So we want to see all the sales, right? If somebody buys 10 times, we want to see the sum of all those 10 parts. So for this one, we're going to say aggregated. We're going to scroll down. We want the value. We want the currency. Okay, so these are the values that we have already implemented in our Google Tag Manager over here with e-commerce value and currency. Okay, they're all integrated here with a pixel. So we don't have to do much else there. The only thing we do have to do, like I said, is just make sure, confirm that this name matches. Okay, so we're actually going to have to come back and make sure that the phone number name matches as well, because I don't think they have a phone call there. So that should be it. Let's look at the issue. What's the issue here? Please note that any change in total conversion might cause existing conversions. Yeah, that's fine. Let's click on create. And that is it. So now once we start getting those sales, we're going to see this show up here. And of course, we're going to test it with the Taboola Pixel later as well. So let's create these other conversions here as well. So this one's going to be initiate checkout. This one we can just keep as the URL. Let's come in here. Let's copy that. Oops, come back here. I'll say contains. We'll say add. There's no number here. There's no value here, just the category, which is going to be start checkout. And then we want to make sure that over here as well, initiate checkout, that it's start checkout, right? Yes, start checkout. Looks good. Everything else looks good. Yes, we want to include this in total conversions. This is one of the main conversions we want to count as well. Total value, sure. Last value. So in this case, we want to do last value. We don't want to track if one person refreshes the page several times, right? We don't want to get that as several conversions. That's just going to be one. So we're going to click on create here. Easy enough. Let's create 2 more. Let's create our leads. So our leads thank you page is going to be which one? This one, just the thank you. So we're going to copy that with the slashes. Come in here, say add, scroll down. We don't need any values for the category. We said it was a lead. Let's come back in here and confirm that it is the same. Okay, so yeah, so for this one, actually, we didn't select the event. We need to select the event, I forgot. So let's make this one lead. And we'll click save. See, sometimes good to double check. So that's a lead. We don't want this to be considered in all conversions unless getting leads is your primary goal. In this case, our primary goal is sales, right? Leads is just a means to an end. So we don't want to count leads as one of the main total conversions to be used for smart bid optimization. We want our purchase pixel to be used for smart bid optimization, where the algorithm's going to look for those people more likely to buy rather than more likely to sign up to our email list, okay? So we don't want that. We want only last value. If one person signs up multiple times, that's just one lead, right? That's not multiple leads. So we're going to click on create. And we're almost there. Let's do one more here. Let's do the phone call click, right? This one's going to be an event because it's not a page load. And then for the category, we're going to scroll down. So they don't have a phone call. So we could say contact and we could just leave it at that. Or we could come in here, for example, and say other, and then enter the name that we've input inside of Google Tag Manager. So when we go to phone call, we would just copy the name that we put here, phone call, and we would paste it here. Alternatively, whatever name you have here. So if this says other, you can come in here and say other here. Okay, so whichever way you want to do it, the main thing is they have to be the same. That's all that matters. So everything else is good here. We don't want that to be counted as total conversions. We do want it to be in total value, but that's not going to matter. And we only want last value. We don't want to pass any parameters, and that's it. We'll click on create. Okay, so we're done. So now let's just test this, make sure it's working properly. And we have previewed it, so let's just save this as well. Let's say Taboola Ads conversion tracking. We'll hit publish. And let's come in here and download the Taboola Pixel Helper extension. This one's made by Taboola. Now it's not very reliable. Okay, so let's come in here. You just want to make sure it's made by Taboola. It's not very reliable. I noticed it sometimes doesn't fire or sometimes fires incorrectly. So we will just have to play around with it to make sure it works. So I'm just going to add this to the bar here. And now let's just go ahead and test it all. So we've saved everything. Okay, so now we just want to confirm that the pixel will fire. That is all we want to do now. So we're going to hit preview here. So we can test it all with this thing showing up, with the pixel showing up. Otherwise, we'll have to use an incognito window or clear all cache and cookies on this browser before we can test it, because sometimes it does that. So here now we should see that pixel, the page view. Okay, so that's good. Now we want to make sure that we see the initiate checkout pixel. This should say to start checkout. Perfect. And then let's make the purchase and let's see if we have the sales showing up. And then we're going to test the other ones as well. We're going to test the phone call and we're going to test the lead as well. So let's see, we have the make purchase. Let's look if the parameters have been sent, currency, revenue, we're good to go. Okay. So that's it for that. Let's test the other things now. Let's test the two more. Let's test our lead page, which should probably go back and grab the URL for that. Looks like I didn't come that prepared. Open this in a new tab. Let's grab this one. Let's make sure everything here is working. You always want to make sure this is working, guys. That's why I'm taking the time to do this. I'm not cutting in and just telling you do it. You can't just trust the process. You need to test it. Always, always test it. Make sure it's working. And I'm giving you all these various tools that you can use for testing. So there you go. We have the lead. Okay, so one more thing I want to check is the phone call. So let's just remove this and click on a phone call link and see if that's going to trigger. Let's go to contact. Make sure we have one here, right? We have one, but then watch what happens when we click on this phone call button. Even if we don't call, right? Because it's just a click, because it's not Google Ads. You can't actually replace that number and actually track the phone call, but you can at least track the click. So here we have the phone call, and we don't need any parameters to be sent here. So that is all. Congratulations. We have set up successfully tracking. Once we actually come in and actually test it live without the Google Tag Manager preview mode, this should say no activity. So hopefully by the time I make the next video where we come in there and start creating the campaigns, you'll see at least one of them being active so that we can start receiving those events. All right, so we're ready to start setting up our campaigns, and within 20 minutes, your pixel status should show up as active. If you followed everything I showed you here, if you've tested it, there's no way around it. So now we're just gonna click on campaigns, and it looks like after conversion tracking, we're back to 0% from 20, but that's okay. Just don't mind this. We're gonna do it all as we build out the campaigns anyway. So let's click on create campaign over here. And we're just going to go from top to bottom. With Taboola Ads, they only have the campaign and then the ad level. There's no ad group level, okay? So all the targeting will happen at this campaign level. So let's give this a name. Let's say cold. And then actually let's, again, fill everything in and then we'll come back up and name the campaign. So for the brand name, we are Dynamic Growth Agency. We want to get leads or sales as always, right? Remember, most of the time you guys are going to go for sales if that's your goal. If your goal is literally brand awareness, select this. If your goal is to get more engagement on your site, select this. But for the most part, the only reason why you want brand awareness or website engagement is to get sales, right? So whatever the ultimate goal is, make sure you select that. We're going to select the account default conversion goal. So whatever we set as all conversions when we were setting up the conversions, so that was the initiate checkout and the purchase, that's what we want here. If you want something different, you just select that and then you say, okay, actually I want to optimize for clicks, for phone calls, or I want to optimize for leads, then you would do that here. But the account default is our purchase and initiate checkout. That's what we have here. Schedule, this is all really straightforward. Just set the time that you guys want your ads to run. There's nothing to explain here. Look at your business. If you work 9 to 5, and if you are offering phone support, then of course don't do 24/7, right? Then say, hey, only 9 to 5 these days. So straightforward stuff. Over here, we're going to select the countries. So we want United States, let's say. For Taboola ads, for native ads, I recommend just one country at a time per campaign. So you don't have all these different ad groups where you can be testing different locations and different targeting options and genders and all that. So you're going to be doing that at the campaign level. So set one country per different campaign because the bidding is going to be way different. Okay. So the cost per click in general is going to be much lower for native ads, but it's going to really differ based on device, based on platform, and based on location. So make sure to do that. You can choose whether you want to target specific cities or postal code or region state. You can choose the platform. So they even tell you here, if you select them all, they say, hey, desktop and mobile have different bid amounts. So we don't recommend that you mix them up because you'll either be overpaying or underpaying if you select them all. So I'd either go with only desktop or mobile and tablet. Okay, either one. So this one, let's go desktop since we are on desktop. You can't select Wi-Fi only unless you're selecting mobile and tablet, which makes sense. You can choose your specific operating systems. If whatever you're selling only makes sense for a specific system, you select that. This doesn't make sense for us, in our case, for digital marketing services, so we're not going to do that. Same thing with browsers, we're not going to do that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. So let's keep going. So next you have contextual targeting and you have audience targeting, okay? So contextual targeting means you are telling Taboola where exactly, what sorts of sites do you want to show your ads on? Whereas audience targeting is regardless of the site, what sort of people do you want to target? Now, here's the thing. Depending on what it is you're selling, like let's say you're selling shoes or something, right? There's no accurate representation of like, oh, only people who look at clothing related websites will want new shoes. There's no such thing. So for the most part, this really won't be relevant for you, for your business. For example, for us, for digital marketing, right? For plumbing services, for electrician services, there's no interest group that people are searching for where this would make sense. In addition, this isn't as accurate. You can't come in here and say autos, right? If you're selling a car and then, okay, now all of your car ads will show only to these people that are interested in autos. Yes, this gives more direction and this is more specific as opposed to just going broad. But the issue with this is that the tracking in general for interest groups has gotten poorer over the years, right? With all the tracking updates, with all the privacy laws, and it's going to get more and more strict. So interest targeting like this won't be as effective, whether it's for contextual categories or audience segments over here. What you could do is you could test, and if you have something that's very specific, like if you're selling, I'm trying to think of an example where it would only make sense for you to do. Like for example, pets and animals, if you're selling dog food, you can come in here and see what they have, let's say dogs specifically. If you're specifically selling something to do with dogs, then you can place your ads only on dog related websites. But just because people are reading pet related websites, does that mean that people who are reading news articles don't have pets, right? So this isn't the best way to approach it. So what I normally do is I just leave it at broad. If you do want to test something out, by all means do so. But the beauty of native ads is that you're just going to leave it at broad and then you're going to test and see. So we're going to set up tracking and we're going to be able to see which sites and therefore which interests are getting us the most results. And that's why you also need such a big budget, right? Because you got to test all of these different interest groups. So my advice is to leave it off, just keep it on broad, same exact thing as we do with Facebook. The algorithms know what they're doing as well. You know, Taboola's got millions, if not billions of buyer signals as well. Strong algorithms working for it as well. But if you do want to create your ads for specific audiences or on specific websites, by all means, you can do so. But I would keep it off until at least you actually see the data and see what's going on. And then over here, you can also target my audiences. So you could say, hey, once we create the audiences, you'll be able to include specific audiences or exclude, for example, buyers. We don't have any audiences here, but this is what you would do. So that's it for the targeting. So let's come back up and we're saying cold audience. We're saying purchases, right? That's the objective. We're saying US. We're saying desktop. Okay, so these are all the things that we'll be testing in different campaigns, either the location, the platform, the purchases. So we can just split test this right off the bat for mobile and tablet, for example, and keep the same country. So let's see if we missed anything. Yeah, all browsers, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. And then we'll just say broad. We'll just say broad. Lately, as you noticed, I don't know how long you guys have been doing this, but over the past few years, the targeting has shifted more towards broad in anywhere, whether it's here, Pinterest, Facebook ads, it's shifting more towards broad, towards let the algorithms do their thing, as opposed to setting specific interest groups and categories. So that's the direction we're headed, where soon you'll just be able to say, hey, Taboola or hey, Facebook, get me a lead for $20 and they will do so, right? That's ultimately where we're headed. Assuming, of course, tracking just becomes impossible and then even Facebook will have trouble, but I'm sure they'll find a way. So over here, we're going to set the bidding strategy. So now we're at the budget and bidding level, and then we're going to go to the ad level, okay? So you can say maximize conversions, and then once you see some data, you'll be able to set a target cost per conversion. Say, hey, I don't want to pay more than $10 per lead, for example. Or when we're starting out, when we have no data, we can say, hey, I want to pay no more than, let's say, 5 cents. This is enhanced CPC, so if Taboola deems that they can get you a click for a little bit more than 5 cents, they will, okay? Fixed CPC means they will go no more than what you set here. So with native ads, of course, it's recommended so that you give them as much flexibility to do what they do best, which is finding you customers. Okay, so we can set a daily budget here. You can also choose to set a monthly budget or a lifetime budget, however you want to do it. For a monthly limit, we can say, for example, $3,000, right? So we're spending $100 a day. We don't want to spend more than $3,000 a month. Ad optimization, we're going to leave it at optimize. So Taboola will show the ad that gets the most responses, that gets the most click-through rate. So we're going to leave it at that. Spend guard is active. This is good. So if Taboola identifies these underperforming sites and locations that just don't do well for us, don't get us conversions if we have that set up, which we do, or don't get us high click-through rate, then it's just going to reduce the spend on them. So it's kind of like a rule, an automated rule, okay? Everything else looks good. The custom rules, we don't have any. You can come into here and you can create the custom rules the exact same way we did for Facebook and Google Ads. And then for tracking, we have the tracking code, all of these details. So you can come in here and you can see all of their different UTM parameters. I linked it in the description or the resources and links section of the site. Now, the ones that I recommend we use are going to be these ones. I linked them as well. Okay, so these are the ones that I want to use. And we're just going to go ahead and paste them right here, make it super, super easy. And we're just going to fill in the blanks, such as by doing that, okay? And let me explain to you what these are. If this doesn't make sense to you, again, I recommend checking the analytics and tracking module where I explain all this in detail. So what this is this is going to say that the source is Taboola, of course. The site is going to tell you the site name of where our ad has been shown, especially once we start seeing the conversions. This is going to give you the campaign name. So the name of our campaign as we named it, so we know which one it is. So the cold, purchase objective, so on and so forth. The title of your headline and the thumbnail, so the image that you use. So this is going to give you a good idea of what exactly converts. So this is what we want to use here. This is the recommendation, although of course you can come in here and just click on learn more and select whichever ones you want, okay, from over here, from these parameters. But we're good with that. We're going to click on create and add ads. And so that's the campaign. Yes, we're going to click create. Let me clear that. And so now let's start with our ad process. So we're going to name the ad after, don't worry about the custom ID, landing page URL. Okay, so for landing page URL, okay, native ads is a little different. We don't want to run ads straight to your site. We're going to do it here for this example, but you don't want to do that. What you do want to do is if you come in here, they give you some suggestions. And this is essentially what you want your ads, your pages to look like. So if you go to any of the other sites that we went to, right, you will notice that their pages are basic landing pages. Like, let me see. They're basic just articles with an image or a video. And then when people click on that video, then they get taken to the sales page. So that's in general how you want those ads to look like, or sorry, the landing page. And then if you come down here, so they recommend Elementor, which is what we have, which is what we've been using for the past 7 modules. And then if you click here, they have an interesting little thing over here where for $9.99 a month, they give you the website builder and hosting and everything, but they also give you this template, right? And here's the thing, you guys know how to do this now. If you watch the website building module, you should know very easily how to do this. So if you preview design, this is generally the landing page that you would want to be using for native ads. You don't even need any of this stuff, just an image or a video, a little text, author, date, something like that, and then a description below the video and image. You don't even need any of this. And you guys should know how to do this with Elementor. Super, super easy stuff. So they're charging $9.99 a month for this template and for access to everything, but we've already paid, I think, $8 a month or so for access to Elementor, to the whole package, to everything. So what I'm trying to show you here is that with the knowledge that we've obtained from these modules, you'll be saving yourself money over and over and over again, right? Because they're selling you this, but you know how to do this very, very easily now. So that's what I wanted to show you here. So let's close out of that. Now, there is another landing page tool that I really like that I've been using, which is called LanderLab. So when I was really trying out and testing native ads for the first time 5 or 6 years ago, I used that landing page builder, and in my opinion, that is the best, because what it allows you to do is to create pages like this very, very simply. And moreover, you can give them any page you like and they'll just replicate it right there and then. So Lander Lab is what I've been using. I don't really do native ads anymore, so I don't have the subscription anymore. But if you guys head over to go.ivanmana.com/LanderLab, they make some really good looking pages, just basic landers. And this is like an actual landing page, but you don't need that. You need something just super, super simple where, like I said, it's just gonna have the headline at the top, something like this, right? Headline, image, and then your text. And then that's it. So you'll be able to do it here. Import from URL. You can just enter the URL of the site and then they're just gonna replicate it like this. Boom. And this is all you guys need, just this. Just this landing page is what you need for native ads. Very simple. Do not use a website because it's just too distracting. Native ads, remember, right? You're targeting these people. They're reading news articles. They're distracted. They don't want to read your stuff. So you really have to hook them with your ad, and you really need something like this. Just a very clean, basic, simple landing page. So that's my suggestion to you. That's what I've been using when I was really focused on native ads. So we'll close out of that. And yeah, that's what I wanted to show you in terms of landing pages. For our case, again, just for simplicity, we'll use this. This isn't an extensive module on native ads. However, once I start adding more content, for sure we can build a lander together with Lander Lab here. But for now, let's just use this. We just put in the URL. Everything else will be added to it automatically. And now for the media. Okay, so here comes the tricky part, right? With native ads. Native ads, you really have to hook people. So if we come back to our examples here, with our ads, if you look at some of these native ads, right, they are not too salesy, so they don't have words on there. They're not ads, but they really stand out. Like this looks like a nice picture. This looks like a woman holding these two things, and you're thinking, what is she holding, right? She looks happy. She's holding these two things. I want to know what that is. And then people read the headline. So they read the image, they read the headline, but these stand out. Now, these ones not as much. But if we come over here, if we look at some of these ads again, take a look at the ads. Take a look at what they look like. Like here, right? An expression. Oh my God, right? What is that? And then people are immediately drawn. They are drawn to faces. And then they look at what this says. And then, oh, South Carolina, say goodbye to high auto insurance rates. Oh, okay. Maybe something I'd be interested in. This one is okay. This one I really like. This one, male impotence, try this modern natural method. And then this has a picture of this interesting magical solution, right? That instantly draws you in. Like as you scroll through this instantly draws my eyes. They carefully picked out the right colors. Look at the colors. They're this little reddish color, right? Reddish, brownish color mixture. And it just really draws you in, right? This thing really draws you in. This is different. It's got all these numbers. And then people look at the image and then they say, look up anyone's home value. So all of these images, they really have to hook you in. Dental implants for seniors, private jet flights, right? You look at these images and you're like, wow, right? This looks really cool. Look at this tree. This looks unique. It looks different. Building block music. So the idea here is that your images really have to draw somebody in. You can't have words. You know, there's just some words here, but in general, none of them have words. Look, over here, they're utilizing this picture of an elderly Japanese doctor to say that, hey, the Japanese are different than Americans, right? I've never gone to a Japanese doctor before. Maybe they have this different, cool, unique style. So they're utilizing this trust, this credibility symbol of him being older, which means him probably being a better doctor, and him being from another country. So he must be different, something that I haven't seen in America. If we're promoting America especially, right? The Japanese, oh, they're different. They got a different style. And then here's this different picture, right? So they're hooking you in. They're making you curious. So if you look at some of the ads, and I link this for you guys below the video as well, here are the headlines. You know, what happens next will shock you. The problem solution headlines, the social proof. So we're going to use some of these for our digital marketing service here, or we'll try to. But what you want to do is you want to complement your headline with an image that also hooks customers in. So again, this isn't an extensive lesson on creating the perfect native ads. This is just a 1-hour lesson on just giving you the idea of how to set it up. But in general, what you want to do is you want to go in this direction of hooking people with something interesting, something unique, right? So let's come back into our main account here and let's find some images. So we could go to Canva as well. However, Taboola Ads does have some good editing options for stock images here. And well, we won't be able to create the perfect, engaging, hooking images anyway without some thought process into it and planning it out. So let's just create something here. So let's suppose let's do some of our headlines first before we do any of our media. And I had to get rid of that little notification that was bugging me a little bit. Okay, so let's come up with the headlines first, and then we'll find the complementary images. So let's see what we can do here with some of this stuff. So this one simple trick, you won't believe what happened, the smart gadget. So this is my favorite, by the way, curiosity driven. This by far gets my attention the most. this one right here. So this is what ideally you want to use. If you can't, then use this. If you can't, then use this. So let's think what we can do. This one simple trick. Okay, so for example, maybe something like this, right? So we can say not change the morning routine, of course. And you want to create your headlines under 50 characters ideally, because otherwise in some dimensions, they won't show up. So you can certainly have some that are over 50, but have at least one that's under 50 to ensure that the full headline shows up, that people can see everything. So over here, let's say this one simple marketing trick will change your business, for example, something like that. Okay. So that's one of our ideas. That's just off the top of my head. Struggling to promote your business. We have the solution. Okay, so this one simple marketing trick will change your business, and then ideally we send people to some article that talks about this one trick and then sending people to us. Okay, so that's the idea. Struggling to promote your business, we have your solution. We have the solution. Okay, let's do one more. So we want to do 3. We want to do 3 images and we want to do 3 headlines, and we're just going to test it. For description, we can just have one. A lot of the time, it's not going to show up. So let's see why thousands of marketers use this, for example, software, we can say, or time sensitive. I don't like this one, but depending on what it is you're doing, of course, you can find value in that. Are you making these common marketing mistakes? Yeah, so that's good. So for example, we could say, I mean, ideally your niche is in something a little more interesting than marketing mistakes. Nobody cares about that, but we're just going off with what we have right now. Yeah, so we could do like 10 tips to boost your sales, for example, or are you making these common marketing mistakes? Yeah, that's okay. We can use that. I also like something like this, like why thousands of marketers use this. Why thousands of marketers use this strategy, for example. Okay, so let's do that and let's build off some images based on that. So the first one, this one simple marketing trick will change your business. So maybe let's have an image of somebody gasping, of a woman gasping, saying, oh my God, right? Let's see what we can find. So, I mean, something like this, but with a little more emotion. The more exaggerated it is, the more attracts attention. Also, what you can do, the best way to do it is to actually have, like, take images with your phone or something. Don't take stock photos. We're just doing it here because, again, just for illustration. But if you can take pictures with your phone, that would be the ideal, of course. So here we have a little orange, maybe something like this, a little cartoony. That's going to stand out from the images that we saw before. Okay, so let's suppose we want to use this one, just a cartoon. And then what you can do here with Taboola as well is they have different options here to enhance your image. So I really like that about them. But I like this image because it's a little different. So here, for example, for the 16:9, we want to, so this one doesn't really look good. Okay, so we're going to keep that off. This one's okay. Can keep that. This one, no. Okay, so over here, let's come in here and let's extend this image. And let's see what it gives us. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. I mean, it's AI, but let's see if we can extend it a little bit so that we can get the full picture in here. Okay, so that's extended now. So maybe something like this. Zoom out. I'm just using my mouse wheel to zoom out. So that looks better. All right, so we've just extended it a little bit. That looks fine. That looks fine. We have all these different variations as well if you want. Okay, so that just stopped loading, so I just had to reset it. And so let's just drag this. I think that looks fine. The 2x1 looks fine. This one looks good. And this one, we'll drag it like this. Okay, so something like that. So in different dimensions, it's basically covered. That's what it's going to look like. We'll say apply cropping. And then the image was added. And then we should see the media file right here. Okay, and these are some of the different variations that we'll say. So this one simple marketing trick will change your business. Okay, so let's add a few more images. So let's come down here. Struggling to promote your business, we have the solution. So maybe upset man. See, we need something eye-catching, right? We need something really eye-catching. Something like that. Struggling to promote your business, we have the solution. So these aren't really engaging, right? None of these are, but if we were to actually look for it and plan it, that's a whole other module for native ads, which I might add in the future, a whole other module for native ads, because it's a whole science. I can't cover this in just one section, but just want to introduce you to this. Let's change this up a little bit. Let's say struggling man. We could also try generate with an eye, also a hit or miss, but sometimes it creates images that are just a little distorted. And so Okay, so it seems a little bugged because it shows up at first and then it disappears. Let's see if we can refresh. All right, so I had to refresh the page because it just was super, super slow, wasn't working. I had to rewrite all these. I don't remember how we wrote it the first time, but something like this. And then I picked out the image again, and then I'm typing in man struggling. So man struggling, let's say if we can say man struggling with business. Well, these are videos. Let's make it image. Okay, there's no images. Let's say struggling. Okay, so maybe something like this. We could say, for example, should give it a second to pop up. And then we'll just select one more image and then we'll go with that. So 6x5, make sure it all fits. There you go, that did a good job. Okay, and then let's do one more. So the simple marketing trick will skyrocket your sales, okay. So let's do man in awe this time. So maybe something like this, just as an example so we can go with that. Let's adjust it. Make sure it looks good everywhere. There you go, apply. And then they also have these, by the way, I didn't tell you. So you can create another background. You can diversify with variation. So AI generates variations of a specific image, and you can add motion to it. So basically creating a video, you will input some images and then they're going to create a video out of it. So if we try this one with variations, just to show you some sample images that look like this one, kind of cool. You can certainly give it a try, but either way, I wouldn't recommend using stock photos. I'd still recommend creating custom photos, and ideally something you can maybe take with your phone. Yeah, so here, but this one, these don't really show the problem much as a man gasping and being curious about what's happening. Okay, so we have these three. With the headline, struggling with sales, we have the solution, why thousands of marketers use this strategy. For the description, let's say, for example, we will help you manage the marketing for your business so you can focus on what matters most. Contact us now for a free consultation. And then this should show all of the different examples here. It's not showing it for some reason for now. And then here, let's say they have contact us. There you go. Okay, so let's click on advanced preview, see if it's going to show up some variations that way. Okay, so here, there's going to be an advertisement there, right? And then our ad is going to be, should be somewhere here. And it's just not showing up, it looks like. So normally your ad would show up over here. That's where it would show up, right there. But for some reason now it's not showing up. Might have to do maybe with the payment method that I didn't enter, but so that's pretty much it in general for this part. Okay, so we have the three images, we have the headlines. Oh, we need to enter the URL. Maybe that's it. Say dynamicgrowthagency.com. Okay, so when I refresh the page, I just forgot to enter the URL. That makes sense now. So why thousands of marketers use the strategy. Yeah, so if some of them don't make sense to you at all, for example, you can just close out. You can exit them out and say, okay, this doesn't make sense. So for example, struggling with sales, we have the solution. Yeah, like if someone like why thousands of marketers use this strategy, like if this one doesn't make sense, we can come in here and we can just remove that and say that doesn't make sense. Struggling with sales, we have the solution. This one simple marketing trick. Yeah, so like this is, this one might not make as much sense anymore. Why thousands of marketers struggling with sales? Why thousands of marketers use this strategy? This one simple marketing trick will skyrocket, but this one doesn't really make sense. Struggling with sales, we have the solution. That doesn't really make sense. Struggling with sales, why thousands of marketers use this strategy? Struggling with sales, we have the solution. Okay, the rest of them are okay. And then now when you click on advanced preview, you scroll down. Yeah, you see the ad like that, right? So notice how it stands out a little bit because it's a cartoon, right? So that's the idea. We want to get that attention. The mastery here, right? The key here is making the image relevant to the headline, relevant to our offer. That's the key. That's the art, the fine art of making it work like that. So that's good. Let's hit submit. And we'll just add payment details later. With Taboola Ads and all these native ad platforms, you normally have to prepay before you actually run the ads. So that's how you do that. Click on campaigns. You're going to see all your stats here. Remove that filter. Complete account setup, which involves the payment, launch your campaign. We have review campaign performance. Yeah, so that's basically it. So there's going to be pending review. So it says 2 days left. And then if we scroll to the right here, you'll see the conversions, actual CPA, conversion column, everything like that. You can see your columns here. You can create a new column preset. You should be no stranger to this now. We've been doing this nonstop for the past few sections and modules. And yeah, that's about it. I'm just going to pause this. And then over here, you can say spent, viewable impressions, clicks. Now, in terms of the rules, by the way, I forgot to say for headlines, these guys are pretty straightforward, pretty common sense stuff. So if you're shouting, if you're yelling, if you have all caps, if something's irrelevant, if something misleading, they will disapprove the ad. So as long as your content is actually relevant and makes sense to what you're promoting, you shouldn't have any issues with approvals. And that is it. Okay, so that is it. Congratulations on creating the campaign. If you click here, you'll see the ads. You're going to see all the sites here, the countries, the platforms. Of course, we're only targeting US. So that shouldn't be an issue, but you will see all the sites here. And then you'll be able to say, hey, which sites are getting me the sales and which ones aren't, so you can pause them. And with the safeguard block that these guys have, they will automatically spend less on the sites that aren't getting you as much conversions. So that is all. Hopefully this was helpful. The setup process for native ads is in general the same for every network you go with. And Taboola being the one that I've been working with past few years and the one that I'm used to, and being a market leader, I think is the best choice for when you're starting out. So now let me show you how to create these remarketing audiences with Taboola Ads so that you can start collecting people on the list and then start remarketing to them. So we're going to click on audiences. And the cool thing about Taboola, unlike every other network we've worked with, is that once we set up the conversion tracking, they've automatically set up these audiences for us. So it just makes things much easier for us. The only thing we should do though is come in here, click on edit, and just rename this, right? So if the initiate checkout, for example, is for 30 days, then we just want to name that rather than just saying conversion rule. We just want to say 30 days. And then it's going to automatically have all these details for us. So if you want to create another one for 90 days, by all means, copy this URL and then just create another one for 90 days. So we're just going to do that. Let's just rename them all. And then it's not going to update right away. We do have to refresh the page, but we're going to say purchase. We're going to say buyers for this one. Buyers, let's say 30 days. And we're going to delete that. And then over here, it's 30 days, right? So if you want to create another one, just do the same thing and just change the date. Phone call click. We're going to remove that. We don't need that. This one's also 30 days. This was the event. Click save. Leads. 30 days. Okay, so these are all pre-populated based on the conversions that we've set up. Makes it super easy. And then all website visitors. This is just one that's created automatically. So anybody that visits any part of our site with the pixel that we've set up will be added to this list. So if we refresh now, we should see the new updated names. And then if you want to create another group of people, let's say leads for the past 90 days, we could just copy that. Click on new audience, pixel. This one will say leads 90 days. Oops, wow. URL will say contains the thank you. And this one will say 90 days. We don't want to exclude it from everybody. We'll say create. And now we have the 90 days. So then you can do the same thing for everything else. Now for things like Taboola, with the buyers, where you're using this event, make purchase, you can't reuse the same event, unfortunately. So for things like that, you'll just have to use the URL instead. So you're just going to click on new audience, and then you're going to input the URL as opposed to the event because this event is already taken. Unfortunately, they don't allow you to use the same event, but that's what it is. So you'll just do it as you have here. Initiate checkout contains this URL. So you're just going to have the thank you page URL for the buyers. And that's pretty much it for the audiences. Now, they do have some additional lists. So they have a customer list. Again, you can import your customer list. You have topics here. So you'll be able to create an audience based on topics. So let me just quickly show you that. So you can come in here and you can say, okay, topics include pets. And then you can come in here and then just save an existing audience for people that view articles which have to do with pets. Okay, so that's what this is. You're basically creating a preset audience. And then you do have other options here. So email domains and search keywords. So Taboola assumes what people have searched for example, or what emails they received based on email domains, based on the websites they visit. So for example, here we type in pets, dogs, cats, right? And then you'll be able to target people that searched for these keywords. Now, Taboola obviously doesn't spy on your Google Ads and on your search, but the way they do it, I assume, is that they estimate. They say that, okay, if somebody lands on a website that has to do with the best dog food for me, then they typed something into Google that had something to do with that, like the best dog food for my dog or something like that, right? So that's what this is. So you can target by keywords here. You have the email as well. some other audiences here, combined audience. So you just basically create a list of all of these different groups combined into one and you target them. So that's basically it. That's all I wanted to share with you here in this video. And hopefully this gives you a good idea of how to use Taboola, how to create a campaign, how to create the account, what the ads actually look like, conversion tracking, audiences, so on and so forth.
So that is all for this Taboola Ads tutorial. Hopefully you guys found value. If you enjoyed this video, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/IvanMana, where I have over 700 videos related to affiliate and online marketing, everything ranging from building a website, setting up tracking, running paid ads, email marketing, and so on. I also offer a free 7-day online marketing starter plan on my website at ivanmana.com that you can use to jumpstart your business, especially if you're starting out and feel that marketing can be a little overwhelming. So that is all I wanted to share with you here in this video. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one.